It's crazy to think about it that some of science's biggest advancements were made in a little metal box, maybe only this thick, up in space. Space only starts like 50 miles up, and yet we've learned so much from literally a box that's maybe this thick. That's space exploration, though. In the last 60 years or so, ever since the 1960s, humanity's went from, launching a little ball, Sputnik, to, learning so much about not just space, but even our life down here on Earth. Every year, there's always some new scientific advancement from a little bit of space exploration. We went from having the picture of the pale blue dot to knowing about how all of the different planets look, these first high definition pictures of Pluto. And now we even have pictures of black holes and all this dark matter stuff that's taking up 96% of the universe. That even though we see everything that we can see, it's only 4% of the whole universe. And space exploration is coming up with new things every day. It really is, and that's why I think we should do it. It's not, yeah, sure, it's not really the cheapest thing in the world. The new SLS system, jointly produced by NASA and Boeing, their launch costs are estimated at about $500 million. But that's why we have private companies. Companies like SpaceX, they're trying to reduce the launch cost to less, something like $50,000 per pound. That's not bad. That's definitely a lot cheaper than $500 million. So that's the real main idea here, is that, yeah, sure, maybe space exploration is a little expensive for now, but as time goes on and we start learning these new different things and private companies come up with ways to reduce costs, launch costs are going to go down. We're going to learn new things. As we learn more new things, launch costs will continue going down, and it's just like a positive feedback loop. As costs go down, breakthroughs goes up, and the cycle continues. Really, at the end of the day, space exploration is just another cog in the wheel, and that's one of the real big reasons for doing space exploration. It's just how we progress. We've just about mastered Earth, so now what do we have left? We got to go somewhere else, space. And sometimes we've had problems with running out of resources. They're saying that we're going to run out of certain types of metals soon, and we're going to run out of oil. There's asteroids and planets out there. There's a planet out in space, maybe a handful of light years away, and it's supposedly made out of complete diamonds. That'll take care of all of our diamond resources. Space technology has given us so much novel resources, like little mini cameras, like the ones I'm taking this video on in my phone, CAT scans, LED lights, just the basic form of insulation to keep the astronauts warm, again, in a very small little metal box. To keep them warm, we've had to come up with all kinds of insulation. And all of these things, not saying that they wouldn't exist without space exploration, but they've certainly helped, like insulation. Due to the need of keeping people warm in space, we've had to come up with different types of insulation. Yeah, the cost of launches are going down. They are pretty expensive right now, but they will go down as time goes on. So that's not a big problem right now. Kind of conceptually, future we would probably need to look for another home just in case. It's said that as the sun goes into its red giant phase, Earth might get swallowed up, so we may need to look for another home. And finally, I guess you could say that large-scale space missions, they help bring people together. Like the International Space Station. It's not called the United States Space Station, it's the International Space Station. And a couple of rebuttals. Space exploration maybe does a little more for humans than just launching satellites into space. That's a kind of common misconception. It really helps us progress humanity. And yes, it is pretty expensive to go up to space, but as time goes on again, the cost will go down. Private companies finding ways to reuse parts and all of this. It'll all add up one day. And if humanity pushes for space exploration and to move society forward, maybe in the future our addresses will need to have a little planet spot. There might end up being a mailman for USPS, but instead of for the United States Postal Service, it's for the United Solar System Postal Service. And maybe our addresses I will maybe need to put my address right at the end, right after the zip code.